Most people think marketing is about being louder, bigger, and bolder. Well, that's not 100% accurate. It's more about connection and building trust. Today's guest, Kate Brown, understands that more than most. Not only being a marketing director of a growing company, but she's a keynote speaker and someone that's put a lot of time and effort into studying behavioral science and how that actually can be implemented into marketing. Definitely something you want to learn. She's worked with a range of different companies in a range of different situations, and she's seen and learned firsthand that success doesn't necessarily come from chasing trends. It comes from understanding people. We're not talking about algorithms and hacks, we're talking about dealing with humans. So today we want to really break down not just standing out, but connecting. Let's get into it. Hey, thanks for joining us, guys. And like you heard in the intro that you just watched, I want to welcome Kate Brown for joining us. Thank you very much for joining me, Kate. Kate, you've done a lot of stuff. Yeah. I'm gonna throw you right into the fire here.
Okay.
What is marketing? Like, to me, I'll give you a little bit of a hint as to what, like, a distinction for me. For me, marketing is not necessarily selling products. It's kind of that making connection. But what in your scope? What do you think? What is marketing?
I think one of my favorite lines is, don't buy this, but be this. So marketing from my lens is more like invoking a feeling or creating, an emotional experience that people can be tied to that make them feel like they're a part of something, and thus they want to buy your product because of that.
Okay.
I'm in financial services, so that's not always a hard sell. We don't sell t-shirts.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder to create emotional resonance, but I think it's more of like a be this mentality, and that's what people find familiarity in themselves within your brand, and that's marketing.
Yeah, that's very eloquently said, much better than I would have done. So I appreciate that.
It is my job.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And you know what? It's cool that you referenced the t-shirt thing. And I don't know the, well, actually, I do know the book. It's Gary Vaynerchuk.
Mm-hmm,
so he's got Crush It and Crushing It. So I'm listening to Crushing It right now. It's very, very cool. And it kind of like, it's good timing for this conversation and stuff. But he was talking about, it's funny you say t-shirts because there's this company. Look at that, we're like 10 seconds in and I'm totally blown away from the notes. But there's this t-shirt company effectively that wanted to get going. And I forget the name, but they couldn't figure it out. And finally, what ended up happening is they put quotes from these essentially powerful Black women in media, right? Mm-hmm. And they put these quotes on these t-shirts and donated them to these schools that were doing these performances and stuff like that, and really connected with these groups.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this guy that was sleeping on couches and couldn't figure out how to sell t-shirts sees in the morning, that I'm paraphrasing because I don't know the actual story, but sees in the morning, Oprah Winfrey takes a picture and posts it with a bunch of these kids wearing his t-shirts.
Well, right? That's the viral dream right there.
Yeah. So it's like, but it's just, again, like you say, t-shirts. So the world of selling t-shirts, you can find that connection, you can find that emotion. But I think, like we'll get into here a little bit today, financial services, stuff like that, a little bit harder to connect with people. Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, now that we kind of did that hard intro, I guess for me, I wanted to kind of preface this conversation and kind of just say, one thing I want to really stress, like if I think of marketing, and I'm not going to be able to say it as good as Kate did, but if I think of marketing, there's a lot of, like, everything is sales, right? And all sales includes some sort of marketing. Mm-hmm. So if you're starting to listen to this, or you've seen the beginning of the episode or the intro, and you're like, man, I'm not selling nothing. I'm not making macrame like I always talk about apparently, and selling it on Facebook. But how would this apply to me? I think it's not selling products. It's influencing people.
Totally.
It's not necessarily, selling a dream. It's, building relationships, right? Meeting new people. It could be starting a yoga studio in your home. It also could be, looking for a partner, looking for a new friend, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if we kind of continue on that, if you look at marketing, it's not just about getting people to notice you or anything like that, but really it's more about getting people to get to know you and kind of learn to trust you, right? So can you shed a little bit of light on the behavioral side of like what that actually means, I guess?
Yeah, I think that the brands that are the most well-known or people feel like they can find themselves somewhere within that brand is a brand that's created trust. And trust doesn't have to be, just based around being boring or safe. You should be safe, but it's more like, what can I expect from my experience with this brand? Are they consistent? Do they have proper expectation framing so that I know exactly what my experience is going to be from the start to the finish? Right. And, as a consumer, you want this even without knowing exactly where you're going to land. So if you find something via a paid search advertisement, you click on that without even like thinking about that cognitively as you're going through it. You hope that as you land on that landing page, that experience is tailored to you. And that's what's going to continue to push you forward into clicking the purchase button or exploring more on the site. But I love that, because as you talk about building relationships, marketing or the expectation framing or the behavioral science behind selling a brand, selling a product, ultimately trying to get a conversion at the end is no different than how we view our friendships or leadership or what we expect from the people that we surround ourselves with. It's like having a set expectation that I know that this is going to happen. That could be in bold ways, that can be in challenger ways. It doesn't have to be this, like this boring thing. We're a challenger brand in a very stagnant, dry space. Yeah. But it's something that builds trust, safety, and knowing what to expect as you go through it.
Yeah. I kind of heard you say consistency a lot of different ways there. Mm-hmm. So why is consistency so valuable and so crucial in building trust?
Well, especially as a marketer, if my job or a marketer, their job is to provide a really great experience and to say, hey, as a consumer or as a friend or as a partner, this is what you can expect from me as you go through your journey with me. But then you get to, the quoting portal, or you get to the end of your checkout, and then your experience is really crappy. You've got like a teller who's snotty, or somebody who's helping you that you don't like, or something breaks within the system if you're using it online. Then those inconsistencies, those unpredictable behaviors, it's so hard once you lose that trust where you're like, oh, is this not safe? That's how we're cognitively wired. So it's just a huge break in the system if you don't have the consistent start to finish experience.
And kind of that honeymoon phase, again, whether it's an actual honeymoon or your initial steps with a financial company, insurance company, realtor, broker, anything, right? It's once you get to that point, it's like, okay, now we're in real life now. Yep. And I need to see that this is going to be the way it always is, right? Yeah. So, very cool. Again, I like how so where did your experience with the behavioral side of marketing actually come from? Where did you learn all this?
Well, I took psychology in school, but I think I've always just been interested in the way that people act or why we react the way that we do. So that's where my initial, I guess, love for the behavior side of it came from. I wanted to understand my own behavior. I wanted to understand other people's behavior. In school, we had to write like a 30-page paper on our own personality. So over dissecting
Would
yourself.
You share that with everyone?
I would not. I don't even know if I want to go through that again. But as I grew, and I'm an entrepreneurial spirit by nature, so going into the yoga space, wellness, that's very emotionally tied, emotionally driven, the foundation of yourself. But then getting into actual marketing for an insurance company too, it was so evident that psychology is marketing. And I think that most marketers would agree, or if not all would agree with that, because it's, again, invoking that feeling. And then you dive deeper, and this is what I love to geek out on. It's like the data points behind the behaviors will dictate what your perfect audience should be doing. And then as a marketer, that's what you begin to replicate. So it's like the specific verbiage that is landing with the consumer that is most likely to purchase. That's how you'll figure out who that consumer is. And then they land on your site, and it's so interesting. It's like where the button is placed, what the button says, how big the button is, what color the button is, the verbiage below it, what it says, what its font is, what its, everything is so intricately tied to what will make a person do a certain thing. So I guess to full circle it, it's just I've always been interested in behaviors, and now I just get to do it on such a granular level of dissecting how people operate, watching their mouse go through a screen. Yeah,
that's very cool, and that's a kind of a blessing for you that you can start with, and kind of a testament to just kind of going with a passion and waiting for the doors to open along the way, right? Because it's you start with something that you're genuinely interested in, and whether it it can be anything. And you just continue on with that passion, get better and better at it, hone your craft, and see where it takes you. Again, going back to that Gary Vee stuff, that's all it is. That's all it's about, right? Finding a way to build your brand effectively we'll talk about influence in a bit, but effectively influence people, not in a bad way, but influence people. Just build that. Actually, it's a funny story. So I talking about that, I don't know where I heard it. It was another book. Wasn't Gary Vee, but just in talking about people kind of committing to, their passion projects kind of thing in that sense. So, and it stuck out to me because, again, if we're talking like, if my daughter wants to make keychains, right? I want to encourage her to do that. And I want to make sure that she sees benefit in doing it. If it's something that she truly loves, something she enjoys, something wants to spend time on, she's going to have a lot more success in the longevity of it if she actually loves it, if she's passionate about it, right?
Oh, absolutely. I've always called that like following the niggle. I don't know where I ever heard that
The
word, the niggle.
Okay.
So it's like following the things that light you up or set a fire within you.
Okay.
And I mean, I've had a very unconventional path, but I think that's why it has been the way that it is, because I just kept following that thing without even really knowing what it was.
Yeah. That's awesome.
How I ended up marketing insurance, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's great. So my weird story, because I love saying weird stories, is I stumbled upon this guy, and I don't know who it is, but I'm just like, because I get so in my head on, is there a market for this? Right? I get very specific on, I don't want to, if I want to find success, I want to make sure there's a market for something. I want to be able to kind of, I'm not naive to think I can plan out my life, but I'm kind of naive to the point where I want to plan out quite a bit of it, right? And I heard this story about this guy, and he blew up on YouTube, and it's Ants Canada, I want to say.
Okay.
Ants Canada. And I'm just like, I don't know where it came up. I'm having this conversation about business and taking risks and what kind of risks that would be. And this guy starts this Ants Canada YouTube page. And so I looked it up, and I didn't watch any because that's just, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to watch videos about ants, but this guy's got like 6.87 million followers or something like that. And it's like, so just again, a real testament to like finding your niche, find your niggle, and move with it and put your passion into it, and really just trust that something's going to work out. Worst case scenario, it's not going to, you can't be looking for 7 million followers on YouTube, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of real tangible benefits to just doing what you love, and hopefully finding that open door that you talked about in a more boring industry.
Well,
right?
And it's a delicate dance between like allowing yourself to be guided to the things that maybe you don't know you need or where you're supposed to be, but also working hard enough and pushing yourself and controlling enough of that narrative that you're kind of like ping-ponging your way towards that thing that you don't maybe know. And I mean, going back to your t-shirt story or the ant guy, I think it also involves a lot of creativity because you're finding your niche. And even for, there's spike ball, and what audience is going to be interested in that outside of like spike ballers? Go and find, teams of athletes, teenagers that need sponsorship, or, there's so many examples of Noble was going up against Nike. And so they were sponsoring, I think it was CrossFit teams, so that they could get their brand awareness and their name out there. And so it's cool to figure out like the segmentation of creativeness that you need in order to actually fulfill the virality or whatever you're looking for, your market.
And I guess all of those situations, you referenced like Noble going up against Nike, which is David and Goliath at its best, right? And, realistically looking at finding that small cohort or that small customer base, but that just really, really trusts you, right? And that's where we circle back to that marketing piece. Is like, you can have all the ideas in the world, but marketing isn't about being the brightest billboard on the highway. It's about, okay, that can get a phone call, that can get some interest, but if they look you up, they need to find some sustenance. If they call you on the phone, they need to find some product and some trust and communication, all that kind of stuff. So that's really cool, the way that it all kind of ties in together, for sure.
Yeah, I love that.
Cool. And I guess we talked a little bit, or I mentioned, I guess, going into that and going into, building trust with people. And I already mentioned it, it kind of is sticking out in my mind, influence people. Okay. So the word influence, I've always felt like it was kind of has like this negative connotation, right? But I recently listened to a book. Again, it's super old. It's not that fun of a book, but How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh, Dale Carnegie.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. So, and just really cool. Just really cool way of putting out. I mean, I think the book was written in the 30s or something like that.
It's old.
Yeah. So it doesn't really land. Like if you're looking for an exciting book, if you want to read David Goggins, don't read Dale Carnegie. Let's say that.
There's a time and a place for both.
Yeah. But so if we're talking about influence, I said earlier, and I don't remember why I said it, something about influencing people. And I right away, my natural hesitation was, I'll explain that later. Like, don't get worked up. Don't get mad. I'll explain that later, because as soon as people hear the words influence, like there's this negative connotation. I guess, can you, like, what's your opinion on that? Why is influence seen as negative, and why is it actually positive? Or how can it be positive?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of factors to that. So influencing done properly is, and this is a buzzword and I hate to use it, but it is just what fits. It's being authentic. So there's a lot of, if we're looking down the realm of influencers, there's a lot of influencers where you have to build that trust and that consistency that they're just talking about things they genuinely love. And that's why you're going to be influenced by them, because you see yourself in them.
Totally.
And you know that they're not just trying to make a buck to sell something. They're selling something that they genuinely believe in. And when it's inauthentic, I think it's very obvious.
Yeah.
So again, it comes kind of back to consistency, trust, and then the influencers that you're following or that you're taking advice from are people that you're seeing yourselves within, or you're seeing yourself within. Mm-hmm. So it's situational.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And you know, going back to Dale Carnegie, I think the one thing where for me, like you can't, some of the stories that he says, I don't remember the names again, but with the presidents that remember all their staff's names, right, and positions and say good morning all the time. Like you can't remember that if you don't care, right? And so I think it's just recognizing that, you know, the number one way to influence somebody is to actually give a shit about what they're doing and how they're doing it and what their life's actually like. You know, it's
and that's moving from marketing to more relationships.
Yeah.
Right. So that's whether, again, you're a spouse, a friend, a leader, you know, a boss. Everything comes down to really giving the right energy into it. Yeah. So if you have a boss that doesn't care if you're there or not, doesn't want to see you thrive, doesn't care about giving responsibility, then that's a completely different culture, a completely different outcome. That person is not going to want to take any kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like direction from you from a work standpoint, let alone if you're somebody's friend and you don't give a shit about them, or your spouse, you're not invested in them becoming a better person or giving them what they need. Right? Yeah. It's so like multifaceted.
Yeah, totally. And like you say, it's again, that influence comes back to, do you care? How can you portray that you care? Mm-hmm. Because I know for me, like people that can really influence me, it takes quite a bit. But if I like, it doesn't have to be, how do I say this? It doesn't have to be like a long interaction, but it has to be authentic. And again, it sucks to always say authentic, but you know, if you look at somebody that just you bump into on the street and they could sit there and go through a script of, you know, I know people like this, unfortunately, and it's like they talk to you and it's like very scripted. I need to ask this guy this certain stuff, and then I'll get on my way. And you can tell when people are asking questions to ask the questions, not to listen to the answers.
Totally.
Right?
They have a vested interest in what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Alternatively, and I had this conversation with our mutual friend yesterday, it's like, you can meet this person on the street and you can have 5 seconds and you still recognize that they actually care what you're up to, how you're doing. They have 5 seconds, but if you needed 20, they'd give you 20. Yeah. Right. So it's one of those things where, and that's how people can influence others, with just that pure connection.
Absolutely.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'm just way off the notes here, but I'll try and get back on. You got like, how much time you got? Like
I got
3 hours,
endless
3 hours?
amounts of time. Okay. Our mutual friend, I think, I've just been like, I'll be back when I'm back.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so if we're digging into, I just want to keep on that thread then and kind of works out to where I'm actually supposed to be within the notes here. If I look at the influence and I look at standing out, why is standing out, or why has standing out been the benchmark for marketing? And what is it now to you? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Standing out is differentiation. And without differentiation, then you're just going to be like everybody else. It's like the sea of sameness. How do you stand out in that? And I mean, that's what I spend so much of my time researching, because we are a financial institution. We are an insurance company that is in the sea of sameness of brick and mortar institutions. So you think of like Liquid Death and what they've had to do to stand out against Dasani or, Smart Water, any kind of water that's being distributed. They had to find some differentiation, and that's like the whole backbone of being a challenger brand, is being able to stand out and be bold and find a way to target your audience that you're looking for, but also creating the safety and the trust and providing an actual product that you can stand behind. So does that answer your question?
Kind of, yeah. So I guess for clarity for myself, extreme value in standing out, it's necessary. It's that first step.
I think so.
It doesn't really get you anywhere without the
foundation.
Commitment, the foundation, the brand, not the branding, the tools.
Well, and
people,
eventually the branding.
Yeah.
Eventually your brand recognition, if you do it well enough, should just give you that feeling of trust, or inherently provide you with, this is going to be an exceptional experience.
Yeah.
So if you've been around long enough or you've done it well enough, that's really your goal long term.
Right. Yeah. So if you're looking at that, that like when I'm hearing you say that, there's a lot of strategy in what you're saying, right? I can tell that you've there's obviously a lot of history in what you've put into this, and how much time and effort and thought you guys have put into why you do what you do and how you do it and all that kind of stuff. But there's got to be a distinction. So how far does strategy get you? And where does it kind of stop without that connection? Does that make sense?
Well, I think they're two different things. And we learned early on that there was a big time and a place for creativity and throwing everything possible. There's no idea that's a bad idea against the wall to be like, hey, this is how we will make an impact, make a splash, stand out, guerrilla marketing tactics, right? Like, I wish I could say all the ideas that we have come up with in, the confidence of our boardroom that have just been ridiculous. Yeah. But then outside of that, once you are done with those sessions, which are so fun, then there's the strategy piece. So they're actually, in my mind, they're separate. Okay. Then the strategy piece comes in of taking the ideas that you've boiled down and reverse engineering them at that point to be like, okay, what actually makes sense based on the data that we have about our company? That is one, depending on what your goals are for return. Is it profitable? Is it going to move the needle that we need it to move? Are we going to get enough volume? So if you have, we go up against big banks that have huge budgets that can test a lot of these things without having a real ROI to lean on. We don't operate that way. So when I take anything creative, I automatically then put it in the bucket the next day of reverse engineering. Does this fit into the model of us being scalable, profitable, and overall, does it match our brand? Okay. So I'd segment them. Have a whiteboard day, have some fun, be creative. And then the next day, get really deep into the data of, does this work for our audience? Is this just a test that we're willing to invest in to see so we can have enough data to do the first thing? Yeah. Right? It depends on where you're at in your business.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. So if I'm looking at it from, again, trying to look at it from a perspective of a large business to an individual. So I guess in your experience, so let's go back a little bit. And I didn't really give you a great introduction, but so you've done a lot of different stuff. You've tested the psychology, you've tested the marketing. You had a successful at-home yoga studio, right? Yep. You produced videos, you shared them, all that kind of stuff.
Subscription based, yeah.
Yes. So how like, I guess that's another fun story that I'll have to tell you about. How do you take something? Because there's a lot of people out there that I don't know if they're listening. Yeah, have something, that. Right? And whether it's a passion project or an end goal, or again, I'm listening to a lot of Gary Vee right now. It's like, build your own brand and sell the subscription to this ant, whatever, right? Like pretty much whatever it is, you just take that passion and build it. So how you're very good at verbalizing the big statistics, the stuff in Shirley. How can somebody kind of take that into a yoga studio or something like that?
No, that's a super fair question. And I mean, it's just a very different scenario. And the really cool thing about In Shirley is we are vastly different than we were 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, like we're building this national brand, but it started out very, very small.
Mm-hmm.
So that small first baby fish in Shirley and the yoga studio that I had aren't that different. They're just very different industries, obviously. So when you look at it, it's really just being able to, you know, responsibly test enough to get the data that you need in order to make those decisions, how big or how small they are. So if I was to like go back into the yoga days, and really I would have done it a lot differently knowing what I know now. So back then it was just, I started out teaching on cookbooks in my kitchen in COVID because nobody had a place to do yoga.
Yeah.
And that turned into a passion project that led into a bit of a business where I was really just winging it, trying to provide what I thought was needed. But looking back, I didn't fully know which audience I was trying to capture. So what I would do if I was to do that again is to take anybody who has any kind of interest in that market, and then I would try to go after what their lifestyle is, right? That's how I would portray my branding. That's how I would portray my verbiage. But if you're getting into a bigger arena of how do I actually market this further, it's like, okay, maybe I would get into a bit of paid performance on Google, for example, if it's an online yoga studio. I'll just use that. And I would go into the behaviors, and I would actually take the time to go through my site and see, hey, what are people trying to learn more about? What are people clicking on? And then that idea just starts to build and build and build. I'm such a big believer that you can't really market appropriately without having accurate data to follow. And sometimes it is a virality thing if you're able to do that, but I don't think everyone or very many people are able to do that.
Not something someone should count on when they're building their yoga practice or whatever.
No, and then it's like leaning into I mean, there's so many different things, and I don't know, depends on who's listening, which one is applicable, but it's like the loss aversion thing. How much are you willing to lose by not going with this certain thing?
Yeah.
Like a gym membership. It's like, oh, you could buy this for, you know, $50 a month. That's such a great price. Or it could be like, how much are you actually going to be losing out on by not buying this $50 membership? What kind of a person do you want to be by buying this membership?
Yeah.
Are you willing to lose out, like not spend $50 and not better yourself? I mean, that might be a bad example, but there's lots of different, that's the behavioral psychology piece of it.
No, and I totally get what you're saying. And you know, in this book I'm listening to right now, he's talking a lot about, excuse me, like free things, right? And it's like, you know, understanding where you need to give to let people kind of try. And I would lean that back or kind of put that in the same bucket as, you know, trial and error, try it on for size, the stats behind it.
Absolutely.
You know, you can't really just, whether you're building a website or whether you're building a small yoga practice or anything in between, or relationships, you know, I have to assume, or I can't assume that my wife doesn't like flowers, right? I need to give her flowers and see if she says, ew, these stink, before I say I'm never getting her flowers. You know what I mean? It's just that total, just to kind of take the step through that door kind of thing.
Well, it's similar to what you're doing here with the podcast, right? Like this is free, very high-grade educational content for people, and then maybe they'll find some resonance within you, especially within our area where we live, and then they're like, oh, I actually need to sell my house or whatever. Like a side way of getting to it. And with yoga, a lot of the really successful people that I know who have done well online in different countries or different cities, they have a whole YouTube program that is free. They're giving the opportunity for people to figure out if they resonate with them before creating the subscription base. And that's like 7-day trials, you know, there's so many things, but I would just really advise to lean into the data and reading more about behavioral psychology. Like, I don't think a lot of people are actually doing that. And it's such an easy lift to speak the right way to the right person so that they want to explore what you're offering.
Interesting. Well, I do not currently read about behavioral psychology.
Well, it's not something most people pick
Well,
up.
like hearing you talk about it, I think I was part of our conversation with our mutual friend, my mutual friend yesterday. We were talking about it, and then, well, every time I talk to you, you talk about it, obviously. But like, it's something where, you know, there's that, again, if we go Dale Carnegie, how to win friends and influence people, and, you know, how do you build those connections and what's the psychology behind it? You know, and actually I'll throw, this is totally off the cuff a little bit, but so you and I, we actually met at Tony Robbins.
We sure did.
In Dallas.
Yep. 3 years ago now?
3 years ago. Yeah, 2023. Yeah. So, and I think one thing I really learned there was the influence piece and kind of like
take action.
Yeah, take action, right? Take action, do the thing, don't quit, push your passion, like all those, catchphrases and stuff like that. But really it was like, I remember going home and I did coaching with Tony Robbins. I went through, and I forget the app, but you can get his app and you can go through all these other courses. And I did, again, the influence people one. I don't remember what it was called for that. And, it was interesting because I thought it was like, okay, well, I should stop talking about how to influence people so much because people are going to think I just want more friends. But I got a couple friends. Don't worry, I'm fine. But so go and listen to this. And I'm like, okay, how do I show people from a genuine spot? How do I show people that I can help them with their issues? How do I show people that I can be part of the solution, right? That was kind of my mindset. And he actually spun it around, and like the first bit of the influence thing, I was super annoyed by, and I kind of knew it was coming, but he's like, how do you influence people? Well, you do it yourself, right? You have to change. So how do you influence people to make more calls? You can't unless you're willing to make more calls.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Or how do you influence people that, again, that you're the best consistent option? Okay, well, if you're trying to influence people that if you want to join me every Tuesday and every Thursday evening for a one-on-one through a screen yoga class, you better be there every Tuesday and Thursday, right? Like that's where it starts, and it starts by building that framework and stuff like that. So yeah, just the really cool connection between influence, marketing, trust, and how those all circle around to effectively, again, I've always kind of said it when I train people here coming in to be a realtor. Who do people buy from? They buy from people they know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
Right. And it's super crucial to recognize, okay, do they know you? And if not, answer is probably no. If not, you got to get out there. Do they like you? If they don't, well, you either need to find new people and try again or change how you're seen. Do they trust you? If they don't, then why aren't they trusting you? Or how can you put yourself in a position to show that you're trustworthy, right? Yeah. And it's just like, it's not hard. It's not complicated.
It's not complicated. It is much more simple than we probably make it out to be. And I think it circles back to what you said a while ago when we started this, and I love Michael Gervais too. So if you don't know him, he speaks a lot about this, and I heard him speak about this in the fall, and it really resonated with me. And it's the devotion to your craft. Yeah. And it's, not just being like, hey, I want to figure out how to market this thing. But it's like you said, you're doing it all yourself. You're setting the foundation up for yourself to show up the very best every day. You're reading every single book that you can get your hands on that relates to your industry or how to market it or how to build it as an entrepreneur. Because that's, depending on which industry you're in.
How to be that trusted advisor in your field, right?
Oh my God. I think that it's not always knowing exactly what to do, but it's knowing that you trust yourself enough to figure out how to do it. Yeah. So yeah. Devotion.
Very cool. Okay. I want to go back. There's a couple more things I want to dig into before I let you kind of disappear. When we look at, let's go back to, because I really love watching like your progression, the progression of the team, the scale that it's moving at, all that kind of stuff. Just in the sheer sense of where this will land and who we can connect with today, right? Let's go back to Yoga Kate.
Okay.
That work for you?
Yeah.
Because a lot of it's the same. Like I honestly think a lot of it's so identical, so similar. It's just for many people like myself, as soon as I hear of a big business doing this stuff and on a grand scale, it's really easy to say, yeah, but that's not me. Yeah. Right? Like it's really easy to say, okay, but I just want to sell, I just want to sell my keychains. Yeah. That's all I want to do. Yeah. Right. But if we look at it, how do we influence people? You don't have to be a president. You might just be a guy in a locker room looking for a buddy or whatever. Like there's a wide range there, but it's the core is the same. Yeah. So if it's the same, and if we have, again, maybe we'll go back to my daughter wants to build make bracelets. Okay. Naturally, she's going to be uncomfortable with, getting out there. She's going to be uncomfortable taking a box of bracelets to her school and saying, hey, these are $3 a piece. She's going to be uncomfortable with me, taking pictures of the bracelets and making a commercial. And that's probably a bad example because kids are pretty resilient and they're probably not going to worry too much about it. So I'll scratch that. Some could be uncomfortable, but, as an adult, it feels a lot more uncomfortable. So we'll say if you're an adult that wants to make those exact same bracelets, or my daughter at 18, and all of a sudden she's like, yeah, but the bracelets are silly, right? I don't really want to bug people. I don't really want to get under the spotlight, anything like that. So can you speak to, like, I feel like so many people are scared to be seen in a sense.
Well, yeah, and scared of failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you share? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think that's, again, there's a lot of different parts to that. And a lot of that is how you want to show up. So if you're not naturally going to be wanting to put yourself out there or wanting to speak, it's like you just have to take action.
Yeah.
You just have to do it, and you have to figure out what your end goal is. If I want to be here, what are the things that I have to do to get there that I might not be good at right now? I might look a little silly. You have to have this like relentless optimism and relentless belief in yourself that you will just get there. It's like that delicate dance between putting yourself out there and then knowing that opportunity will most likely present itself if you do that.
Yeah.
A good example of that. So yoga came quite naturally to me in a lot of ways, just because I felt so at home there, which I think is a sign that you're really aligned in what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I hope you feel that way, whoever's listening, whatever you're doing. But a great example is last year, I got the opportunity to go and speak about behavioral science on stages next to people that had been doing this for 30 years, that had been part of, billion-dollar banks, companies. Yeah. And I was like, who am I to be up there? I'm outgoing. I, don't mind speaking in front of people, but that was a whole different level. Yeah, and so I was like, sure. You know what? I want to be a thought leader. I want to grow in my career. I want to grow in my knowledge base. This is somebody that I want to be. So I have to put myself out there in order to do that. Mm-hmm. And so I had to do, again, I lean on Michael Gervais and what he said, where it was like devotion to your craft and having the emotional resiliency to be able to show up in those arenas.
Yeah.
And leaning on the fact that you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it for your end goal. And there's, no matter what you're doing, it's not even in business, no matter what you're doing, there's going to be somebody that has a judgment about it.
Oh, totally.
So just to just
do it, right?
Yeah, just do it.
Okay, so that's
Nike. Am I? No.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
We're gonna shut down.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good run. We're gonna get canceled here. That's all good. So man, that's super cool you said that, because one thing that I actually heard and I totally forgot about until right now, it was a Jay Shetty podcast, and her name was Shade, I think. Shade, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but it was about building confidence, I think, confidence in the workplace. Yeah. I totally butchered that, but just scroll through Jay Shetty. It's one of the recent ones, but they had this really cool conversation, and she actually flipped it back on, because obviously Jay was asking all these questions about, what does that look like? How do you build confidence? How do you walk into that room? How do you step on that stage and deliver? And she flipped it back on Jay and said, well, how do you do it? Mm-hmm. Like, what are you doing that's so different than everybody else? And he kind of paused and he did his Jay Shetty thing and he got real quiet and he's like, I just do it. Yeah. I just push through it. And
you build confidence by showing up for yourself and proving to yourself that you can do that.
Yeah. And it was really cool to hear, like, I don't want to say fake it till you make it, because I think that, again, is overused. And it's like, we're in a time where you don't need to fake anything. You can just get out there and do it until you're better at it. Like, sick tagline, but just start and get better and hone your craft as you go. But it was really cool to hear Jay Shetty, of all people, like his following what he does, and just say, like, no, like, if I am in a situation where I'm uncomfortable and I haven't done it, it sucks. Like, I hate it, and I do it, and then I realize it's not that bad. Or even for Jay Shetty, it was cool to hear him say, like, okay, if we're talking about building connections with people, he walks into a room, and his favorite stuff in this episode he's talking was like just hanging out with the boys playing football, right? Playing soccer. But now with his, his growth and his celebrity stature, I guess you'd say, he finds himself in all these rooms of people that he used to watch on movies and on the big screens and stuff like that. People want to talk to him, and he really doesn't even want to do that, right? It's like very uncomfortable with that. So I find myself just gravitating towards somebody that I can connect with, and somebody that makes that situation comfortable. So now when people say, well, how do you how do you put yourself in these situations that are so uncomfortable? Well, for one, you just kind of push through and then you get comfortable doing it. Or two would be you find somebody or something that gives you that comfort.
I don't think anyone can do it alone, right?
Yeah.
I think that is a huge piece of it, is you have to build this relationship with yourself, but you also have to have a bit of a village that when your voice feels small or when you don't always know what to lean on, that they can prop you up. And one of my favorite lines too is like riding the danger line. So I like to live my life that way, in the sense that I'm always trying to push myself into another level or another limit of unknown, so that I can, one, prove to myself that I can do it, thus building more confidence. But that puts you in those rooms that you never thought you would be in, or it connects you, like you said, with people that you never thought you would be connected with. And then all of a sudden a new opportunity presents itself, and then you push that line.
Totally.
Right? So it's all very interesting how it plays out if you just start, show up for yourself, even on the days that you're unmotivated and you don't believe in yourself. Yeah. It goes a long way.
And if we look back at that Tony Robbins stuff that we probably won't dig too far into, but well, I guess we could talk a little bit about like take massive action, right? That was like the biggest thing that they talked about there. And, you know, and now I have it written on a note on a shelf in my office, and you know what I mean? Just some of that stuff where it's just those little keys, and it's not like, you know, Jay Shetty he didn't get where he is by just like staying in the comfort zone, right? I hate to lean into that, but like you push through that discomfort and everything, it just, all these doors open up on the other side, right?
Well, and what I learned at Tony Robbins is the thing that I lean on the most is, take action, but it's also, you have so much more potential and energy than you think that you do. Your mind will convince you that you don't. And so on the days where I'm like, I'm tired, I haven't slept, or I feel like I'm failing in every area, or whatever it is. I think back to those like 15-hour days at Tony Robbins where you're not eating, you're not sleeping, and you are thriving. And I'm like, okay, no, I can do this. Totally. I'm tricking myself out of actually taking action. That will make it easier for tomorrow and the next day to show up. And
not a very good sales pitch for you got to say, oh, you get lots of sleep, you get lots of rest, they feed you well. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you should go.
You should
bring snacks though.
Totally. Yeah, bring snacks.
I think we ate all of your beef jerky.
I forgot about the beef jerky, was a big hit. A little side commercial. It's definitely so what was the big shift for you from Tony Robbins? Like, cuz I didn't know you. And I guess I got two questions. I'll start with, what was the big shift? Because I didn't know you, but I knew a little bit about you from our first couple interactions, which would be like, 20 minutes in 3 days, right? Like we were pretty preoccupied with the whole thing going on. What was the big shift? Because it feels like there's been a lot of changes in the last few years for you.
Yeah. I mean, depends on which lane I want to go down. But at that time, I went through a lot of personal changes. So, I had my daughter, I had gone through all this schooling that I never ended up pursuing once I had her. And then I, went through a separation. I had a very close family member pass away. And all of a sudden I was in this space of like reinvention. And reinvention where I knew that I wanted to do something powerful and I wanted to make something of myself and my life and be a good role model for my daughter. But I felt so weighed down by all of those other things that had piled on, and it felt so hard to break through that. So Tony Robbins was a really well-timed event for me to go to be like, okay, everybody's got something that they have to work through, and it doesn't have to define how you move forward. And I think for women too, when you're a mom and when you hold so much sometimes shame around figuring out how to show up so well in that arena, and if you want to have anything outside of the home and you have a failed marriage, it was just that space of like, oh, should I be doing X, Y, Z? So from a personal level, I just had to get rid of a lot of those limiting beliefs so that I could, get into this next stage of life where I really wanted to blossom into somebody that I didn't quite know yet. So it was very beneficial for me.
That's awesome. That's so cool to hear. And what a testament to, I don't even know how to say it. There's quotes. There's a number of quotes, I'm sure, that express it a lot better than I can. But like, doing the inner work first and really believing that you can become that person. I think that's really, really cool to hear you kind of talk about that and stuff. So it's good for you. Happy to see it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Was there a second question? Did I miss
There
it?
was.
What's the second question?
So what was the most uncomfortable part of Tony Robbins for you?
Ooh. The most uncomfortable part. I mean, I've done a lot of therapy in my life. I took psychology, so I feel like expressing myself wasn't overly uncomfortable because I'm an emotional person by nature. So I don't know. It was probably the most uncomfortable part was getting all these tools and knowing what I had to do and then actually believing that I was going to go home and do them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because who hasn't written a list of being like, oh, I can be this, I can do that, I can get rid of this feeling, and then 6 months later you're back in therapy for the same thing. Yeah. So it's like taking action to hold yourself accountable, to figure out what you need to do to be the person you have to be. Yeah. And that is hard work.
Take that massive action.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I had a good uncomfortable one for me, but now I'm like totally reevaluating it because like, that's now I feel like, well, shit, I need to take more action and work on myself more. You're inspiring me. So good for you.
Oh, geez.
No, and I was going to say for me, because I think for me, I just wanted to bring it up because it's something that I've always struggled with in like building my career in real estate and really most things, I would say, is I'm totally fine. If you put me in a room with a bunch of strangers, I can do whatever. I can go dance with the strangers. I can go like not randomly on the street like they dance at Tony Robbins, right? I can go walk on coals with a bunch of people from wherever. So I think, and actually was just when we were talking about it, I'm thinking to myself, what was the hardest part for me? I honestly think, so I knew Pierce was going to have friends there, people from Shirley. And I think probably the most uncomfortable thing for me was walking down in my hotel room and seeing a table of people. I
remember that morning you came for breakfast.
Yeah, and I'll never forget it because I was so flippin' intimidated, right? And I was like, why am I here? This isn't me. I'm not that guy. All that negative self-talk. I was like, man, these people are all like, they all know each other. I should just, and I think I probably even told Pierce, you guys do your thing. And I know for a fact, I told him, I called him like 3 days before we flew out there. I was like, you guys can do your thing and I'll go to the other side of the building. Yeah. Like, I don't have to bug you. And that was me like trying to protect myself in the way of saying like, I don't really want you to see me in this light. So you guys just don't worry about me kind of thing. Yeah. But now looking back, some great connections built, right? And if you look at like even one of my best, turning points, one of my big memories of there was like Pierce and I talking on the stairs, kind of, it was probably 2 a.m. in the big conference center or whatever. Like just those little things that were really kind of life-changing. Some of those things that really just massively impacted my confidence, impacted who I thought I could be in the future, all that kind of stuff. So
influence piece.
Yeah, and totally.
I mean, to full circle it, I know we've kind of digressed from different topics here, but I think that is like the key of leadership, whether that's leadership in your job or what business you want to start or your relationships. It's who are you when the room is quiet? Who are you when you don't feel good enough? Yeah. Who are you when you feel like you are like the biggest imposter? I think that everybody goes through that feeling where they're just totally, like, am I in charge of this? Yeah. Am I supposed to be in charge of this? Like, am I the person that's supposed to be doing this? But the relationship that you build with yourself when you go through those things, it's just so invaluable. And that's what will take you to the next level and the next layer. And it's an incredible feeling. I think.
Totally. And again, like, this isn't just a massive ramble, but like this all ties together. Like, you build trust with people, you influence people, you market to them, you let them see who you are. You do that by getting uncomfortable. You know, for me in that situation, it was walking down to that lobby, grabbing a breakfast. I probably slept in because that's what I do when I'm places like that. I was probably late for breakfast.
Well, lucky for you, you've got like the most outgoing group. We were probably like, hey.
Totally. So, but if I would have never, and if I just look back at where I am today, and if I look at where you are today and what has happened in the meantime, I would have never, no way I would have done like this podcast stuff.
Yeah.
There's no way I would have ever done that if I hadn't taken that step to fly to Dallas by myself and then go have continental breakfast with, 6 other people that I'd never met before that I was just going to spend 20 hours with each day for the
Telling
next
your
4 days.
deepest, darkest secrets.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's like all these things. So I just think, again, a reminder to like, just get in that room, just put yourself out there, whether you're, again, selling the bracelets or building a Fortune 500 company. Just, you have to start by just putting yourself in that situation and taking massive action.
Building the foundation of yourself so that you can get into the strategy and tactical things of what you actually need to do in your business.
Totally.
You can't do that if you have no foundation.
Totally. I love it. Okay. I do have a couple questions that I kind of want to, and we're kind of touching on in many ways, but to kind of wrap up what this actually looks like. So what, if we're looking at marketing specifically, if we look at what works offline and what works online and what the difference is between the two. Can you speak to that real quick?
Well, they're two very different things. Like we are solely online. So I have to lean so heavily on how the experience of our storefront, which is our website, is. How our paid performance works and ties into it, how our quoting portal works, and how the sales agents follow up at the right time for the right person in the right place. But if you have a business that's external, that's not fully digital, then you have so many other things, and it's probably harder because there's so many other things to control, like people out in the world, what your actual store is, what the experience is, how does it smell, where are the clothes, are you hiring the right people? So yeah, I mean, that's probably another whole podcast in a way, a very different topic, but yeah, they're very different experiences. But if you have both, then again, it needs to be a holistic experience, consistency, trust. I love Aritzia, for example. When I shop online at Aritzia versus when I go into the store, when I'm in Edmonton or a big city, it is the same experience. I'm getting the same effect, the same type of outcome. So it's probably very hard to do though. I'm lucky that we're only online and our sales agents on the phone master what they say.
Well, that's a very good way of answering it. When you start answering it, I was like, oh no, she's not going to answer this the way I expected, and this whole question is going to blow up in my face.
Classic Kate.
Yeah, but no, it actually turned out perfectly because what you're saying is they're two very, very different beasts.
They are.
But if you break it down, it's the same thing, and you need to hit the same switches, you need to hit the same buttons, right? You need to connect with people. You need to make it easy. You need to make it consistent. You need to make them trust you or help them trust you. So it's really not that different. It's just finding a way in an online presence
to execute it differently.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, cool. Well, so much information. Okay, well, I'm not going to let you go quite yet. I do have a couple things. I want to ask you a couple just rapid fire questions just to finish off, just short answers.
Okay.
You game?
I will try. I'm such an overtalker.
Okay.
Short answers. Got it.
I think I see laptops about to die. So if this is where the video ends, or just no. Okay. In a general context, doesn't have to be marketing, can be whatever you want, or it can be marketing, whatever you want. Okay. So if people only understood one thing better, what should it be?
Behavior.
Oh, okay. I got to go read some books. What matters more than people think?
Oh man, I don't know where to go with this. Energy.
I love it.
The experience. And that's how you show up as yourself, also how your business is represented.
Yeah, that's deep. Yeah, I love that because that's, goes into the marketing side of things, but it's also marketing, again, like we talked about in the very beginning, is sales are everywhere. You're always selling. If I'm trying to get a table faster at a restaurant, I could do that 2 different ways. And if I slam my fist on the table at the front door and I say, get me a table quicker, do you think I'm going to get that table faster? No, right? So it's everywhere. It's that energy and stuff. So what would you have started doing sooner, knowing what you know now?
I would doubt myself less.
Oh,
sooner.
I love that too.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, when you're young, you're so motivated by external stuff, proving yourself in a way. And I think that's a healthy dose of that as you get older is really good, but doing it more intrinsically for yourself. And I think that just comes out. You can take care of yourself and you can represent yourself so much better when you're doing it for you.
I love that. I think I really needed this episode. Like, I really needed to hear all this. I'm gonna really enjoy listening back to this one. Like,
Me
it's
too.
that's
Covered a lot of ground.
You've been so helpful, and I think there's a lot of nuggets in here that are super valuable. So I appreciate that. One last. So finish this sentence for me. Getting uncomfortable means
taking action.
Nice. Okay. I love it.
bum.
I love it. Okay. Thanks a lot, Kate. I appreciate everything you kind of share with us and stuff like that. Congratulations on everything you got going on, all your speaking and all that kind of stuff. It's very cool to see. So
thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, that's her. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to the next one. And be sure to follow Kate. We'll drop some socials and stuff like that. Oh, one last story. So we won't ask questions. If you want to leave, go ahead, guys. But I had somebody, I was setting up this room earlier and I was like, you know, I got an interview coming up later today or whatever. And she's like, oh, who are you talking to? I said, oh, this Kate Brown lady. And I should speak up, this Kate Brown lady. And she's like, oh my God, I follow her online. She's so awesome.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, she's a speaker and she just does so many cool things. And I just love it. And so there, just a little bit of a nod to you, just a total random situation. But yeah, you're definitely making waves and connecting with a lot of people. So
thank you so much for sharing that.
Keep doing your thing. Okay. Thanks, guys. Take care.